Hey everyone, I want you all to sit back and relax and enjoy these creepy encounters. You'll never know if this could happen to you. I'm an 18 female at the time. I had messaged with a guy, 28 male, at the time, for a few days when he said that he went to the same community college as I did and wanted to meet up. To get ahead of the curve, yes, the age gap is a massive red flag, one of many. I was very naive, had no experience with men at the time. I am now 26, am constantly terrified of young me's decisions. Don't you worry. So G and I met in real life during one of my longer breaks between classes. He did that whole self-pity thing, saying he was unattractive and most people would just ghost him, and I was young and dumb enough to give him a chance. Well, getting to know him, this whole in real life interaction was over the course of 3 days. He threw out some major red flags that had me running for the hills, but I didn't know how to navigate a situation like that. Flag 1. He had a tattoo on his forearm that he showed me of Jack of Hearts, card stabbing itself in the heart, because he claimed to be constantly putting himself in a position to be taken advantage of. I find permanently branding yourself with your self pity and martyrdom to be concerning at least. Flag 2. He was a prior service military and said he was disappointed that he spent all of his service stateside because he never got to go shoot anybody. That's literally what he said. He regretted never getting to kill anyone. Flag 3. He wanted to take me stargazing on our first date. I couldn't drive, so he knew that he would be driving me, a girl 10 years younger than him, out into the middle of nowhere. He mentions a spot like 30 minutes away from campus, even farther from my home. He was pretty dead set on this date concept. So that was all info I got the first and second days of knowing him. Just walking around for like 45 minutes and chatting. Towards the end of our second chat, we were standing outside one of my classrooms, and he said, "Do you trust me?" Did not wait for my answer. He grabbed the strap of my book bag and attempted to pull me towards him to kiss me. I panicked, nearly shouted, "Nope," and quickly ducked into my classroom. His face getting close to mine is still burned into my retinas. The next day was the part that really creeped me out. So obviously after the whole attempted kiss and the other red flags, I wanted some distance from this guy and didn't know how to reject him. So I just texted him, "Hey, I need to do some reading for my lit class. I'm just going to go to the library instead of meeting with you today." I made it clear that I was not looking for company. I sat in the lobby near the front doors of the library since I wasn't hiding or anything. My back was to the entrance, both earbuds in, music loud, reading a book when my phone buzzed. He had texted, "Everything okay?" And I immediately felt something was off. When I looked out of the corner of my eye, I saw that fucking Jack of Hearts tattoo on the armrest of the chair, directly behind me. I froze and was internally freaking out. If he had shown up and started talking to me face to face, I would have been thrilled. But this was weird. I texted back something like, "Yup, just catching up on some homework," and sat there pretending to read and that I was oblivious to the presence. I quietly unzipped my backpack, and when I saw him get up and walk over to something at the other end of the room, I shoved my book into my bag, nearly ran out of the library, looped around the back of the building so he wouldn't see me walking. If he exited the building and waited until I was concealed by some buildings to text him that I was uninterested in going forward with our upcoming date. He did give me a dirty look every time he saw me on campus afterward, but otherwise left me alone as far as I know. And I very quickly learned to be more picky about who I spoke to. I still feel sick when I think about his intentions for the stargazing date. So I went to a concert in the city last night, and this happened once I returned to my home in the suburbs. I clocked this person before I even got out of my Uber. You see, I live on a main road with a lot of local businesses across the street from the row of buildings I live in. This person was dressed in all black or dark clothing, just kind of wandering in a circle around the parking lot of a building with an art dealer or something in it. Excuse me, miss. 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 Excuse me. I had just gotten out of the Uber, and luckily the driver stuck around. I immediately called my boyfriend on my phone and whispered for him to stay on the line with me. Yeah? He said something about not knowing where he was and asking if I had a phone. I told him to stay in the lot across the street and pointed him to a bar and bowling alley where he could receive help. I couldn't see his face, but saw he had a bag. It was shaped like a bag you get from Starbucks or something, but it really gave me a bad vibe. He kept saying he got off the train and his phone was dead and he just wanted to get home and didn't know where he was. However, it was weird that he was standing in the middle of all these lit up signs for restaurants, a bar, and a bowling alley, and insisting I should help. He had to walk past the bar when he got off the train, so I don't understand why, if he needed help, he wouldn't just try that first. I told him I was using my phone and reiterating that the bar would be able to help him best, and I then waited for him to walk away in the direction of the bar before running into my building with my boyfriend on the phone. My boyfriend insisted I shouldn't be freaked out, but I waited some time before turning lights on because my apartment faces the street. I remember a while back reading a story here or seeing a video that warned against doing that, because if someone is stalking you, then they know where you live. He reassured me I was safe behind multiple doors and multiple locks. Later in the night, I heard a commotion outside, and I couldn't really figure out what was going on, but it gave me chills. I was worried maybe he attacked someone else, but I think maybe I'm just overthinking it, because I'm watching too many true crime videos and listen to too many podcasts, and I'm just paranoid by default now. It very well could have just been an obnoxious drunk causing a scene, getting into an Uber of their own. I'm considering calling the cops or the bar and asking if anything happened outside of the bar last night and reporting what I had experienced. But again, I'm worried I'm overreacting and overthinking this. I had 2 drinks last night, so maybe it wasn't as creepy as I thought. What do you guys think? Update: the police said there was no incidents on my street last night, so I do feel better about that. But it was still creepy, right? Sorry if this is long. I started working at my retail job a little over a year ago. The age range of my coworkers ranges from me, the youngest, 25-year-old female, 24 at the time of the story, to about 80, which is important in this situation. One of my older coworkers, probably a 65-year-old male, and I would talk here and there when we worked together, which wasn't that often. It was a very sweet, even bringing in fresh cookies for my coworker and I because we weren't working when he had brought them in the weekend before. He was super welcoming and extremely nice, and I truly never got any bad or creepy vibes from him. Fast forward to a few months of me working there, he had to get surgery and take some time off from working. During his time off, he decided to come in to walk around the store and catch up with some of my coworkers. While I was taking my lunch in the break room, he walked in and grabbed a cup of water, and we started small talk. I asked him about his surgery, he asked me about my lunch, etc. But then the vibe suddenly shifted as the conversation started to die down. I genuinely felt like the air was different in the room. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a business card that he had written his number on and handed it to me. He said that if ever wanted to grab a coffee sometime, that I should hit him up. I laughed awkwardly, obviously starting to feel uncomfortable that a grown married man just asked me to grab a coffee. But because I had never felt a strange vibe from him in the past, I wanted to just chalk it up to him being a sweet old man who enjoyed chatting with me. It just felt so off though, And after I told him I'd think about it and he left the room, I felt that his intentions weren't what I really hoped they could be. I immediately started texting my friend about the situation, and I felt the urge to cry. However, I was interrupted because he walked back into the room and asked me if I could keep the interaction between me and him. He said that it was because of our coworkers might get jealous, that we didn't invite them. That is what fully solidified my feeling of it being a creepy interaction. Because I just started working there, I didn't want to bring it up to my boss and confide in my two coworkers instead, both women who were closer to my age. They validated how I felt and told me that I should speak to my boss about it, but I was still very scared to do so. I'm not super confrontational with authority figures. My coworker asked me if it was okay if she could just talk to her instead, and I said yes. Fast forward about 2 weeks. I was walking around the sales floor when someone told me that my coworker, whom I had the interaction with, had just come in to once again walk around the store. I told my managers that I was going to go sit in the office while he was there, and that's when my boss decided to go have a chat with him. I sat in the office for about 10 minutes until I heard my boss saying, "I've told you to leave 5 times. Please go," very sternly, and him begging to go into the office to talk to me. It was extremely scary, and I suddenly felt bad that I had maybe read the interaction all wrong. My boss validated my feelings and told me that if it felt weird, it was weird, and that no 65-year-old married man whose kids are probably older than me should be asking his 24-year-old coworker to grab a coffee. But even though I shouldn't feel this way, ever since then, I felt a bit guilty that he had gotten fired because of me, especially because he had been working there for years, and no one else had ever had a strange interaction like that one. He came in recently after not being in the store since last year, and my heart sank. After one of my coworkers warned me, I went and sat in the break room and waited for him to leave, which prompted me to write this as I feel like maybe it'll be helpful to hear others' opinion on this situation. I'm a female in my 50s. I grew up predominantly in the 1980s, living in Sydney. I had mom, dad, and my 2 younger sisters. On the occasions my parents decided to go out, we had family to look after us. By the time I was 12, my parents decided they would just trust me to finally babysit my sisters. This story occurred on the very first time I babysat. My parents had decided to go out for movies and dinner on a Saturday night. They had found a midnight screening of one of their favorite movies from their childhood, so knew they wouldn't be home until 1 or 2 a.m. At around 11 p.m., we were still staying up late together, lights all off, watching TV, when we heard somewhat of a rustling in our front yard. Easily putting it down to wind or a cat, I didn't worry too much. But then about 2 minutes later, bang, bang, on our front door, way louder than a normal friendly visitor. The 3 of us were terrified. We became a bit more collected, but still silent, and turned the TV off. Even in the 80s, there was no way in hell I was going to open the door to anyone, especially that late at night, knowing it wasn't our folks. Bang, bang, another time as a door. I decided to brave it a little to the front door. Fortunately, the door was almost completely wooden, with just some thin strips of heavily colored and frosted glass panels, so no one outside could see in. So we kind of crouched there and barely made out a figure at the door. Before we knew it, the doorknob was rattling. This person was trying to enter the house, not knowing if they knew we were home and too scared to make it obvious. I had to do something. Luckily, we had a wooden doorstop. I quickly grabbed it and tried to quietly jam it under the door so that it hopefully couldn't be opened. Our only phone was right at the front door as well, so I was too scared to use it if they heard. So I ushered my sisters upstairs to my parents' room, where we just huddled. I knew we could see the front stoop from our parents' window, but it didn't have blinds, just heavy curtains. But I couldn't resist not looking. My sisters, of course, feeling the same. We ended up slowly putting our heads under the curtains, so we didn't have to pull them open and look out the front. What happened next has fueled our nightmares for life. We saw this old man. His eyes were dead focused right on us from the second we looked out, like he knew exactly where we were in the house, waiting to catch our gaze. He had the most menacing, scowling face. We saw he was holding something, a brown paper bag. He held it by the top, making it obvious that something was inside, and slowly lifted it up to beside his head. He then lifted up his other arm with a finger pointed at the bag, and very slowly moving his forearm back and forth, creepily gesturing to whatever was in this bag. The whole thing lasted over 5 seconds before we all ducked our heads back down, recoiling in fear. I stood up about a minute later and moved to the very edge of the window, praying I may see more without him seeing me through the crack of the curtains. I could just see, and he was gone. My sisters and I just huddled together, scared for ages on the floor of the bedroom, and I don't remember much else. Just our parents coming home and us in hysterics telling them. I think my dad made a police report, but that was about it. He was never seen by us again. I have and will forever be desperate to know who that man was, what he wanted with us, and what the hell was in that paper bag. But still, creepy old man, I'm glad we didn't meet again. I hope you all enjoyed those stories. With that said, as always, stay